Hello, everyone. Welcome to the last episode of Season 1 of Here Comes the Celebrant podcast. It looks like I've saved the best to last. You're about to hear a great interview with Rachel Cruse and Frank Wall of Soulful Nature Ceremonies on Vancouver Island. They came to Life Cycle Celebrancy by way of planning their own wedding with another Life Cycle celebrant on Vancouver Island. And their wedding didn't begin on the day of the ceremony when they exchanged vows. It began the day before with a community event. It's really quite inspiring how the community came together and brought symbols of Frank and Rachel as a couple, symbols and mementos that reminded them of marriage, and a natural, beautiful altar was built in the ceremony space as a container for the next day for the exchange of the vows. I think that you will really enjoy this interview. Thanks so much for listening this season. I'm looking forward while I plan for season number 2 and a bit of a rebrand. Some new colors, some new font, some emails going out for some future collaborations, and I'm really looking forward to 2026 and unveiling more great conversations that celebrate and elevate celebrancy. Enjoy the interview. Welcome, everyone, to Here Comes the Celebrant podcast. I have special guests. I have 2 guests in the studio today. I have Rachel Cruse and Frank Wall. They are on Vancouver Island in the Duncan Cowichan area. Am I correct? That's a beautiful area there, Cowichan Lake. I've been through a couple of times, and it's really beautiful. So welcome to the show today.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
Wonderful to have you. The first question I ask everyone is how you came to Life Cycle Celebrancy. We all have lives before we get here. It's not something that somebody chooses coming out of high school. It's often a set of experiences or a relationship or a connection that introduces us to the role of celebrancy, and then it just speaks to us, and we find ourselves researching and going down the road of looking into becoming celebrants. How is it that you bumped into celebrancy on Vancouver Island?
Yeah, bumped into is a good is a good descriptor. We discovered it when we decided after 10 years and 2 kids, each having been in a previous marriage, to get married.
Wonderful.
And then we decided on a date, which we gave ourselves a year to prepare, because 10 years wasn't enough. Didn't do anything for a long time, and then suddenly realized, I guess we need to start organizing something.
That
And
was
we-
in the springtime.
Yeah,
And so we had 4 months, I think, to prepare for the wedding.
yeah. And so we
Pretty
didn't
good.
know who is going to actually do the ceremony.
Right.
We weren't sure. We talked about even just eloping, or, we're not very traditional. So we just started Googling what's available out there for people to do wedding ceremonies. I'd only ever heard of the Justice of the Peace or in a church. Those are
Right.
the only 2 options I knew of, and neither one of them were what we wanted to do.
I, on the other hand, did what many couples do when arranging for their wedding is I identified a friend of mine. Her name was Sky, and she had this kind of grace and this sort of spiritual quality that I felt should be embodied by someone performing a wedding ceremony. And I asked her, will you do it for me? I didn't know what I know now. And so I tried that route, and she was very, just like grateful. She looked into it, but realized it wasn't going to be something that she could do. And so she politely declined. And so that took a little while. So then we had maybe 2 months or 3 months till our ceremony. And we looked around and we found, I think it was Barbara Densmore, her website, and asked. And of course, she's fully booked up. But she connected us through their grapevine that they have, and put out a call, are there any celebrants open for our date? And that was how Wendy came into the picture.
Okay.
And Wendy contacted us, and we were so grateful, because at that point we were getting a little bit worried.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you've identified something. I noticed that myself here, especially the ones that are through word of mouth, is that everyone knows about the marriage commissioners or a church, but there are so many people that want to do something that's more in the middle that could have some traditional cultural elements that are really important to them, but they want to do something special, and we're not as well known. And it now sometimes sort of word of mouth and organic can end up being special, but time and time again, we're like hidden gems in our communities, and sometimes it seems to take a little while to shake the tree to find the right one. So I'm glad you found Wendy. So Wendy, through Barbara, was able to actually contact you. That was really great that Wendy did that. And then you got together with Wendy, and that got the ball rolling.
Yeah, she came over to our house and we had a little
Oh, very nice.
meeting over our dining room table. And yeah, she was very enthusiastic and welcoming and interested in us as people. And we felt like she really wanted to do it, but not just for a job. It was she wanted to carry that role for us as people, as individuals, and she made that clear. Yeah.
Mm.
Wow, very nice.
Yeah. So we were pretty committed and smitten with Wendy right away.
Right. That's great. That's always good. And it is about the right relationship.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've seen that time and again. You just, the energy, the vibe, the connection needs to be there because you're really working together to get to this ceremony, and it really is a collaboration. So the relationship is really key.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
she explained to us all about the freedom that we could have and how she would, work with us to create a ceremony that was very authentic to us. And that was exactly what we needed to hear.
That's amazing. What kinds of things were you already thinking about and telling Wendy about at that initial interview?
Hmm. I could guess that it was around not wanting to do all the traditions, not wanting to be,
Okay,
wanting to be out in nature. We knew we were going to involve our friends and community. For us, the wedding wasn't about the white dress and the flower girls and the bridesmaids and all
Yeah, the
those sorts
traditional
of
stuff.
traditional things. It was
right.
something deeper and more connected with nature and earth and community that we wanted to create. And we didn't know if we would be able to create it. And Wendy's like, yes, you can.
Yes, you can. Oh, that's wonderful. That's great. Well, so let's talk about some of those elements that you were able to create. So we've got nature and community were sort of the two key aspects.
Yeah, and a lightheartedness as well. We wanted to be fun and something that people would walk away from feeling like they just, were at a party or uh, yeah, just
Yeah.
bringing people together.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
Once Wendy gave us the go ahead, felt my creativity go into like full throttle. And I was bouncing ideas off of Frank constantly about how we could do this, what we could do, what it would look like. And he was my practical voice. He always is. And so in the end, the decision of what actually came together was based on choosing an actual location, what was practical within that location, how much
Okay.
could we fit all my crazy ideas. And we basically changed the order of almost everything that happens. We did a party the night before instead of after. And it was
Nice.
it was a very unconventional potluck, and we decorated up our yard with patio lanterns and twinkly lights and a band and a stage, and we had a great time.
Yeah, well, and also we kind of allowed for people to bring whatever they brought to the celebration. So we asked people to create the altar with us. So it ended up being on our property here. I brought log rounds from the woods, firewood rounds, and we made a wall where people could place significant items to them that they thought represented us or represented the idea of marriage, and we put our own kind of sacred objects on there. And so that happened the day before. People came and they brought stuff, and we created it as a community of friends and family. And we didn't hire a band, but this friends
Right.
we have friends who are musicians, and they jumped up and just started playing some songs. And our daughter ended up singing a song. Our 7-year-old, she was 7 at the time.
And this just all happened organically. There was
Very
there was no
organic, very
Oh, I love it.
yeah, very flowy, very flowy.
Nice.
Yeah, we have a beautiful forest right at the edge of our house. I mean, it's not an immense forest. It's just a nice little woods. And so on the edge of it, I had this vision of a log round altar where it's like stacked. So it was, I think it's about, I'd say 15 feet in length, and it was kind of curved, 3 layers of logs stacked, rounds stacked up, making different places to place things. And then we covered it. We invited our community to bring these items in, like Frank said. And it was a whole day leading up to the party where they could drop in any time based on their availability and bring their item to create the altar. And so it was covered in so many beautiful things, little gifts that were left, little, statues, gems and feathers, and so many flowers and incense and candles. And it was a glorious piece of, like, I'm going to use the word organic
Yeah.
nature confusion that was beautiful.
Yeah.
The butterflies were landing on it, and we hung
Wow.
some rainbow prism crystals from above it, and the piece de resistance for me anyway was I have a beautiful buffalo hide that's very special to me. And we brought that out, and it was the floor of the altar over the wood, or over the woods, the natural earth. And we were able to stand there for the ceremony.
Amazing. And so that's the night before.
Yeah. And we had hay bales and a beautiful archway that Frank built, that I wrote a blessing on, right on the wood of the archway. Lots of Mexican blankets and things covering the hay bales. It all came together so beautifully.
I can really see the focus on the community because of the party in the traditional way, as you said, like the party is always at the end of the wedding. And this, you're calling the community forth on that first day, and they're bringing things that they feel represents marriage, or it reminds them of you, or something that they want to bring. And you have this community celebration, and it readies the space for the marriage ceremony the next day.
Yeah, the community
I
built
love
a
that.
container for us to get married in. But as an option, if they were available, come both days, or for just for just the ceremony, or for the day before.
Yeah.
And so people were coming in when they were able to. One day with the celebrant, we had never heard of celebrancy before that.
Yeah.
And
Amazing. Now, did you write your own vows?
no.
We actually got
Okay.
so involved in everything, we didn't have time to even think about writing our own vows. So Wendy just graciously found ones that really worked for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, she really let us do what felt right for us, and added in the bits and pieces that we didn't know how to do. Like we did a hand fasting ceremony, and we there were a couple of rituals that we added in on top of the ring.
Okay.
That she
Mhm.
brought to it. She made suggestions that felt really good to us.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that we wouldn't have known to think of.
Right. I mean, that's where the expertise comes in. Once you tell the celebrant sort of your vision, or where you're headed, it kind of really gets us going on other
Mhm.
things that might be able to add something
Yeah.
special to the ceremony.
With our hand fasting, we didn't just do a traditional hand fasting, because she brought in the idea of calling in the 4 directions and the medicine wheel. So we had a ribbon representing each of the colors, and then we invited certain family members, or to come up and each place one of the ribbons representing. And there was a blessing about each direction, as and it worked perfectly within our cultural group here and their friends. And yeah, we made it extra special. We still have those hand ties, yeah, hung in a special place.
Just to say, yeah, just her willingness to let us run with it, and also like be a strong. We fell in love with the whole concept of what she was doing.
Mhm.
And your original question was, how did we come across? And we'd never heard of it before their wedding, and then here's this woman who can just help us create what we want, but be a solid, knowing how things
Yeah. That
can be
guide.
organized in a way that makes sense, and
Yeah.
pull it all together.
Mhm.
And it was wonderful.
And so you found yourself after that, just some sort of lingering thoughts that this might be something that you would like to be able to do in your own community.
I think Frank was the first one to say it to me. He's like, "You should be doing this." Even before the wedding, he said that. But then he he hammered that home after the wedding as well. But it came from multiple directions on the day of the wedding. After our wedding, we had a little tea party, which was lovely, and we had lots of social conversation. And lots of people came to us and they're like, I can't believe you created this. This is amazing. I wish I'd known that I could have done this. I want to get married again so that I can do this, something like this. I didn't know I could make up, like all sorts of comments from people. And at least 5 times that morning during the tea party, people said, can you help, if I get married, can you help me do this?
There it is.
Right. And you should be doing this. And so I heard that enough times and it started to sink in. And I actually had a kind of a realization in the months after that all my life I'd kind of carried a certain curiosity and a reverence to people who had that magical power bestowed on them to perform a
Mhm.
wedding ceremony. And I had no idea how they got there, but I just I thought they were really special somehow. But it hadn't occurred to me that I could follow that path. I didn't even know where to begin. And then suddenly the path opened up before me and people were telling me to get on it. And so
Yeah,
that was really interesting. Yeah.
I love that description. Like all of a sudden the path opened up. And then when you get encouragement and affirmation, it just naturally carries you down that path.
And so we came around to the idea that we both really enjoy the idea of doing this type of work, and that we could something that we could probably do together.
Mhm.
And so we ended up both taking the first course, the fundamentals of Celebrants,
Okay.
together.
Mhm.
We're in the same class together with Jen Boys and so. And at that point, I wasn't sure how I was fitting into it all. I knew I wanted to be involved in creating ceremonies. I knew Rachel was a natural, and somehow I wanted to be involved. And so, yeah, we did the course together, the introductory, and through that, it led Rachel naturally into weddings, and I started realizing that I had an interest in the end of life ceremonies and funerals, which surprised me. I did not expect to.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean, it's not a place that everyone is comfortable with. So,
completely uncomfortable with it. Actually, it terrified me, the idea of doing it. And when I realized
Yeah.
that, I was like, well, I need to look at that. Why does this scare me so much? And it's something that's really important in our culture. We don't tend to talk about end of life. And yeah, the more I thought about it, it was like, yeah, this is where I want to go, as well as supporting Rachel
hmm,
and all the other work. The the life cycle course that we did together,
yeah.
and rites of passage, and it's always been interesting to me. And so that's the direction I've been slowly wading into.
And again, it's one of those, especially with the end of life and celebration of life and memorials and such, and then community rituals, it really does happen organically. A referral from a family, and then you work with the family. And is that how pretty much how it's been happening for you, Frank?
Yeah, and like I say, I'm slowly wading into it, and
Okay.
yeah, I've been doing some life celebrations for people that I know.
Do you find that you're getting similar feedback from families for the celebrations of life, like for weddings, where they're really surprised that they're able to do this?
Hmm.
To honor their loved one in this way? They thought it was gonna have to be this more traditional way, and they're really quite surprised what you're able to do for them?
Yeah, absolutely. What I'm noticing is there's a strong community here of people who sort of feel like they can do it themselves. So it's the do it yourself, knowing they want to do something um, non traditional, and they're looking into. But in the moment, it's overwhelming to pull off a celebration of life for a loved one when you're in the throes of the grieving and all the other affairs that need to be tended to. So they've been so grateful to find out that there are people like us around who have been training to take their vision and then do the work of putting it together, so they can focus on what they need to focus on. So I think it's super valuable to have the skills that we've learned for people who want to do something that doesn't, for whatever reason, that they don't see it fits within the traditional ways, but who really need to be focusing on something other than creating the ceremony for when they're in the and they've just
And
lost
it's such
somebody.
an intense short time frame, and just to have that expertise and that guide come in and just it can really offer a family a lot of relief. Tremendous amount of relief, really. Yeah. Well, that's amazing how you can both lean in, sort of balancing ends of celebrancy as a team. It's amazing. Rachel, I wanted to get back to the natural altar. Have you been able to incorporate that with a few other weddings moving forward as a celebrant?
Yeah, each one has been different, and several are in the
Okay.
process right now.
Okay. Wow.
So it all starts with that initial conversation where I meet with that couple that's looking at hiring me to do their ceremony. And I open up their thought patterns with, look, we can do all sorts of things. We could do this. I can throw out random ideas at them and they're, you see the light bulbs going on.
Ding ding. Yeah.
And so then it's about gathering in what's most important to them and combining it with where are they going to be having this ceremony? What is the natural landscape in that place? Why is it meaningful? um, Obviously working within budget and interest, because some people they're going to be making their own altar, and I've opened up their creative juices, and so they're like, I could make this. So they don't need me to make an altar for them. But many people feel quite stifled in their creativity, or afraid that they might do something wrong, or not sure where to begin, or too busy, and then they're really happy to have me creating something for them. And so I've made spirals out of seaweed out on San Josef Bay. Like, and actually it was a spiral with two entryways, one where the groom would enter and one where the bride, and they would walk around the spiral passing each other and meet at the middle. And I had to gather all the seaweed and I had the seashells, and we brought rose petals and special items and decorated it. And it was beautiful. And when it was done, other than collecting a couple of items, the sea just gets to take it away. Right. So, um,
Beautiful.
yeah. And so if, working in a forest, you might use the fallen branches or bring in some natural items that look like they could have been found in the forest and drape things in moss. And, obviously if it's not the dry season, you can put in some candles and, bring in special statues or altar items that are significant to them. Or, this yeah, just you start with the landscape that you're going to be working in. An altar that you might create in a garden is very different from what you might create in a forest, which is very different from what you might create in a beach. And of course, the size of the wedding is really a big part of that, because in some cases you really need like an archway or a backdrop of some kind. And others you could just make a beautiful mandala on the ground, that they could stand within. Yeah. So.
I'm not particularly artistic. I'm creative when it comes to the text.
Mhm.
And and I often celebrants talk about creating this ceremonial space, this ritual container, and I see it in terms of how I can do that with words and bring people into that space and infuse energy and such. And I just love this artistic consideration that you have, that it can be an organic physical container that you can build from which the ceremony can be expressed. I'm really completely fascinated. I'm sure there are a lot of couples where this is a whole other level of ceremony that they're going to move through that they wouldn't get a chance to experience otherwise. It's really incredible work. I love that it can even, especially if you're on the beach, it just goes back to the sea, or you just leave the wood the way it is and it just goes back to the earth. We keep coming back to the word organic. It's very beautiful when it can be that organic.
Yeah. Yeah. Stones are another great item, because you can make any kind of shaped altar or pathway or decorate it with personal items. I think really bringing in personal items is a great way to, if the couple has a special thing on their mantelpiece, a stone that they, took from a traveling, or when they got engaged in India or something, like wherever it is,
Yeah.
they're special mementos and things that are meaningful to them that they can bring into the altar space. And then those naturally will get removed after and not returned to nature.
Right, right. Yeah, they're not just going to be left there. Yes, yeah, yeah. In a
Another
heap.
example is, gathering some sand or shells that were part of that altar, or moss, and bringing it home to create something special at home. Or a wedding recently, we had a driftwood archway that was hand built by the groom. Actually, I didn't have to do that part. um, they removed it from the beach after, put it in a truck and brought it home, and it became an archway in their garden to grow their garden plants up. So yeah, there's this reusing and creating really special mementos from the event itself to take home too.
Right. Yeah, to be able to take that home and have that continuous connection
Mhm.
to that ceremony. It's not just the wedding like it's a business, but rather this ceremony where something important and special and spiritual happened. And we know from our coursework that the hero returns and is reincorporated into the community in a different way. And I don't know if couples always think about their vows and the community experience as a different way of being in the community. So I think it's great that they've got something that they can take back home, that they can look at and revisit from time to time, that can remind them of that ceremony.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine every time they walk through that archway in their garden, they're remembering their wedding, which is remembering their
Right.
love, which is
Yeah. And
helping
crossing
them
over that
remember to be
threshold. Yeah.
grateful and kind. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, all of that. Yes. Because the work isn't just done on the wedding. It's not just, oh, we've arrived, we've done our wedding, and no, now it's the work of the marriage, is the relationship as it evolves through the seasons and the years, and it's just a wonderful way to think of.
Yeah, and even something as simple as there's one that Rachel did where they wrote on stones the principles that they wanted to live by. Truth, honesty, courage. So
Wisdom,
the
kindness.
seven, yeah,
7 sacred grandfather teachings.
yeah, the seven
Okay.
grandfather teachings, and each one they wrote on a stone, and they picked people who were there, the witnesses, the group, to each have a stone and bring it and place it around them with the word painted on the stone. And then they have those stones again to take home or to gift, or again, something to remind them why
Mhm. Yeah.
why they decided to get married.
Yeah, exactly. And there's something about the weight of the stone that's, it's different than writing on something else. Or maybe if you wrote on something and released it, there's something very grounding about a stone and
Hmm.
writing your truth and your principles on it, that when you take it home, you can feel the weight of what just happened.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So, Frank, I wanted to ask about some of the celebrations of life that you might be doing. And I had mentioned earlier that in many ways that sometimes the families we work with are surprised at what they can do to honor a loved one. And in the same way that couples are quite surprised at what we're able to do for them for their weddings. So, I know in our CFNI now, Natural Transitions Institute training for funerals, we read a lovely book by Sarah York called Remembering Well, and she teaches us and focuses on this idea of the soul sketch,
Hmm.
and how to be able to sort of bring person alive in the ceremony or through the ceremony in a unique way, where it's almost like everyone gets to visit with them one last time. It's just a person that we're able to capture through our interviews with the family and their choice of readings and talking to friends, and we're just able to do something special that is the soul sketch of that person one last time for that celebration. And I'm just wondering, like, with your work with some of your families, if you're are you able to do those kinds of things, and what is their response to your creativity?
Yeah. So again, it feels very organic and intuitive. I really like that term "soul sketch" that Sarah Clark coined. I find it's listening to the family and the friends to get a sense of their life, but it's not about facts and career achievements. I mean, that's part of it, but I'm really listening. I mean, first of all, my job is just to sit and listen to the people that knew them well, and everybody has their own experience with people. And so, hopefully, ideally, I can see where they lived, what was important to them, what did they put on their walls and on their mantle. Or one question I always ask is, what were their favorite songs? What music did they listen to? And I just find music is is very personal, and it really connects to your soul, to your spirit. It speaks for you. What is it? Aldous Huxley said, "After silence, that which expresses the inexpressible is music."
Beautiful.
Yeah. And so I always like to find out what they listen to, and when I'm writing, when I gather all the information I can and I start to write, I put a Spotify playlist together of their music, and I just have it playing while I'm writing. And I find it just
Wonderful.
gets me into their space. I may not understand the music, or might not be
Mhm.
something I'm familiar with, but it's kind of creating, it's bringing them into my space. It's in something beyond words, really. I mean,
Bringing
it's
you
Yeah, it's
bringing me into their space.
yes, because you didn't know them. I mean, sometimes we may have
Yeah.
met them, but you've really never met them. Yeah, it's a wonderful way to be inspired.
Hmm. And yeah, it really, for me, it really is what what were they passionate about? What were their struggles in life too? Not
Mhm.
just the milestones, but also what challenged them, what brought out their passions. And I find music really expresses that through, yeah. If they were connected to a song, they're connected to it because it spoke to them. It spoke to
Yeah.
something important to them.
Yeah. So maybe an experience that shaped who they were. Just yeah. I agree. I have the same relationship with music. So that's yeah, I really like that technique.
Yeah, so through that, it really is creating a soul sketch and adding in the what they did for work and what hobbies and that are pieces that fit in there. But it's more about a picture, creating a picture of what their life was all about. Yeah, I think everyone has something to share from their life that is helping all of us. So I'm trying to find what that thing is, what was that special piece of gold that this person brought to the world.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, way I can any information I can garner from talking to people, and I can even look at their Facebook page now, what they shared on Facebook.
I mean, yeah, that has made it certainly makes things a little bit easier when there's
Well,
that documentation.
yeah, it's another way to kind of see into, yeah, to what was important to them. Yeah, and to share what they brought to the world in a way
I
that
love this idea like
feels
there's
honest
this
to them.
yes, that's exactly where I was gonna go, go because it's to find that sort of piece of gold. Because sometimes we're rough around the edges, but there is and I think it's important to not gloss over that. It's just this is who this person is. It will make complete sense to everybody there. To make them out to be somebody that they're not is feels disingenuous. But there is that little piece of gold there. And that's really, yeah, as you're saying, it's sort of the heart of the soul sketch is to find that and then reflect that back to the people that have gathered to honor them.
Yeah, yeah, and like you say, not gloss over the rough edges either. It's an honest story that I find a lot of the times the things that we struggle with are the very things that we're bringing as gifts to the world too.
Absolutely. Yeah, they shape us, they define us, and sometimes it wasn't pretty, but this is who we are as a result. So are you getting some feedback? Like I know, like I mean, the family, working with the family more directly, you're getting feedback from them throughout the process, even if it's just a short time frame. But whenever I speak to just one of the community members after, especially if they're coming from a religious background, they're pleasantly surprised and quite moved because they'll say, we don't get this at church. This is more the focus. They might be a eulogy, but it's more like reading a CV, maybe with a couple of funny stories. And they're really quite moved. And so what we're doing is really, really quite different than a religious ceremony. Are you bumping into the same element of surprise from people that they're surprised, they're welcoming, they're kind of open to what you've just done and they're curious?
Yeah, I've had some great feedback, and
Okay.
I think also from the family members themselves, like I mentioned before, in my experience so far, which is, we've only been doing this for a couple of years, and like I
Mhm.
said, I'm wading into it quite slowly. So, but in my experience so far, working with people who thought they were going to do everything themselves, very grateful that I came along and was able to take, not change what they were going to do, but to listen to what they wanted to do and organize it in a way, and then again allow them to have the space to really grieve, their to take that responsibility off of their shoulders on top of everything else that they're working through.
Yeah,
So
I think one of the things that happens is people are aware now that if they go the traditional route for what's available for a funeral or memorial service, that they have this sense that their loved one won't be honored in the way they feel they need to be honored. And so then they're like, well, in order for my loved one to be honored the way I need them to be honored, I'm going to have to do it. And so that's where the life cycle celebrant comes in, or where this work comes in, is being able to say, hey, actually, I can help you with this. And you don't have to do this work. I can help you to honor your loved one in a way that you won't find elsewhere.
And then you, as you said, Frank, because you need to attend to your grief, especially those early days that are so intense. And then it feels like you're planning this big event. It gives the family then permission to do what it is they need to do, because we're there to support them and then work with them and provide them with this ceremony that will, as you said, Rachel, honor them in the way that they would like them to be honored.
Yeah, and still be involved as much as they're
Of
wanting
course.
to or able to, and yeah, and feel that what they want, what their vision is going to be honored. And so I'm not there to tell them what this is what you do. I said my first job is to listen. What do you want? And okay, yeah, let's make that happen.
Let's just make that happen. Yeah. And that would be just so reassuring.
Mhm.
So reassuring to meet somebody who just listens and then just says, let's make that happen. I mean, that just alleviates so much pressure and so
Mhm.
helpful, right? Right in the early hours and days, that's just so much more.
Yeah, I think that's what Rachel just said. A lot of people, I think, decide that they want to do it themselves because they're not wanting to give that power away to do what's right for their loved one, for their family, or they want it to be what they want it to be. So I think that's what we excel in as celebrants. Training is all about is creating a personal experience.
Well, I
Yeah.
think in many ways, modern traditions, they're bereft of culture. So even though there are traditions, we don't actually know where they came from or why they exist or what they were for. We just sort of have, this is, you do this, and this is what this is what a funeral looks like, this is what a wedding looks like. And it's a container that we're expected to kind of work within without any kind of, well, where did this come from? Why do we do it like this? And now that, in many ways, we're in a cultural void in a way that we're having to crawl back out of. We no longer have that connection to our ancestors and to our cultures of origin. And well, some of us do, the lucky ones do, in some sense. But we're culture making. We're trying to bring it back. And in the sense of funerals, I mean, I guess we've spoken on that already, but it's just, how do we bring honoring a person's soul back into this
Mhm.
saying goodbye process?
I really like what you said, Rachel, because it's up to this point, it's sort of, and there's a disengagement too. It's been tradition for the sake of tradition. We're there to serve the box of this tradition, and now we're starting to ask, well, how can this serve us? How does this serve our community? And I think the more that gets asked, and the more people want to come at things more organically, and as you said, understand maybe where that ritual or tradition comes from, and maybe want to reincorporate it in a different way, that there are people there that can help them do that.
Hmm. Yeah.
So Frank, I remember at the beginning you talked about the rituals across the life cycle
Mhm.
course with Jen. And do you think that the more work that we do in the community related to the life cycle, not just weddings and funerals, but we could be working with a women's group to do work on a process to get ready for International Women's Day, or it could be a solstice celebration, that there are different ways to mark and honor the life cycle throughout the year. And then some of us are really starting to get involved in those kind of other rituals, that people will start to look at celebrancy as an important role in the community.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I think we're quite lucky to live where we do here on Vancouver Island because there are quite a few people in line with that, bringing ceremony back, and a lot of the
Okay.
people that we know are doing, solstice celebrations and yeah, you name it.
Okay.
Rachel's done a couple of mother blessings. I guess that's not the right word, but that sort of mother honoring parents. She did a mother and father before the birth of their child, so preparing
Beautiful.
for that. And
Okay.
um, yeah, all of those significant milestones in our lives, coming of age is something that's really interesting for me, for boys and girls, and then at the other end of life, going into eldership, into the older years. Um, there's big transitions in our lives. Bringing back the ceremony around those, that some cultures still do that in a great way. It feels like it's been lost in my experience of my how I
Yeah.
was brought up.
So it's almost like we're helping retrieve some of these ceremonies that have been lost.
Yeah, or recreate if we have to.
Mm,
We look to
good
other
word.
cultures that are still practicing a lot of these ceremonies, and without just outright stealing them, appropriation, but
Yeah, appropriation.
for
Yeah.
inspiration in how it can be done in a good way. Yeah, it's all about finding our place in the world, and honoring honor the pieces of our lives that we all experience, and finding, it's scary moving into a new stage of life. I'm thinking of, retirement, or we have retirement parties. There's no ceremony around it necessarily. It's more of a, like a,
Cake and speeches.
yeah, cake and speeches, and that's all good stuff. It's an honoring, creating some ceremony where, it really feels like you are stepping into, you're stepping out of one part of your life and moving into the next, and it's declared, and it's talked about in what's the meaning for this person going through this change, and what have other people experienced going through that change. And yeah, just important stuff, and just finding ways to express that importance in community, and acknowledge that we all are going through these phases of our life. The people that have gone before us and the people that will come later. Children can go to a croning ceremony maybe and see, well, this will be me one day, and the elders can look back at the younger ones, their ceremony, and say, well, I've been through that, how it was for me.
Yeah, and here's what I learned. Here's my knowledge. Yeah. Yeah, those are wonderful community connections. Well, I think that's a great note to end it on. You sound like you're in a wonderful community that is ripe for celebrancy,
Mm.
and and that makes a huge difference. And I think having the patience to allow your celebrancy to happen organically is the best place to be, because then you find the right people find you, and then you have the right energy and the inspiration for the ceremony, and it's just it's a nice symbiotic relationship. So I'm really happy for the two of you, and really excited for your community.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. And I know others are going to enjoy this episode, and might even reach out. You never know. And I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Leanne.